Hello friends, I'm FIDE instructor Atul Dahale and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to see a very fascinating game played between William Steinitz and Chigorin from their World Chess Championship match which happened in the year of 1892. But before we start with our today's game, I would like to give you a brief history behind this game. What happened is like in the year of 1889, William Steinitz won the World Chess Championship match against Chigorin with the score of 10.5 and 6.5. After this World Chess Championship match, they were searching for a worthy opponent, and in this case, Günzburg, a Hungarian master, came across and he challenged Steinitz for the World Chess Championship match. Obviously, Steinitz won this championship match with a convincing score of 10.5, 8.5. But there was one thing, that Günzburg was a great positional player, and for the first time, some opponent or one opponent played in the same turns of William Steinitz. In the same year, William Steinitz published his first book which was related to the opening theory, and the book's name was The Modern Chess Instructor. In this book, he talked about two famous openings, Ivan's Gambit and the Two Knights Defense, and obviously Chigorin was the player who said like, okay, you need to prove your theory about these openings, and he challenged Steinitz to prove his theory through two games. He decided to play two games in the telegraph format. Unfortunately, Steinitz lost both the games and Chigorin was okay, now you need to play a little bit more. And the St. Petersburg club from Russia and the Havana Chess Club from Cuba decided to arrange their second World Chess Championship match between William Steinitz and Chigorin. Obviously, the decision of the venue was decided by the champion and he chose Havana. Well, another thing was also there, that $2,000 were on the stake. In this World Championship match which was going to happen, the player who was going to win the first 10 games will be decided as the champion. So the game which we are going to see is the fourth game. Well, like before this game, Steinitz lost the first game in the Ivan's Gambit, and after that he drew two games. But in this fourth game, he came all prepared. He was mentally very tough by this time, and he played in a beautiful fashion, accumulating all the positional advantages which he got, small advantages, and then he finished off the game with two brilliant rook sacrifices. So without further ado, let's get started with our today's game and see what happened. Well, in this game, Steinitz was white. He started with e4. Chigorin was black. He played e5, knight of 3, knight c6, bishop to the b5, knight of 6, d3, d6, c3, g6. Well, this is a little bit old fashioned, we know. Knight d2, bishop to the g7, and now knight f1. Obviously, where are you going to put this knight? Well, yes, he is going to put it on the e3 followed by on d5. This is something which is very subtle and which is very modern technique also, that we are going to establish our knight in the center of the board. Here black played castles, and unlikely at that time Steinitz decided to play bishop a4. Well, this is a very modern idea, because what he is planning to do is like he is going to put the bishop on the c2 square. He is going to save the bishop, which is very unique in the current Italian system, you can say. Then black played knight to the d7. Obviously, his idea also is to play knight to the c5 square, then knight e6, and he will be putting more pressure on the f4 square. Then in this position, knight e3 was played, knight c5, bishop c2, and here he played knight to the e6 square. Well, if you take the stock of the position, what is really happening? In this position, obviously, white can play castles in this position, which will be very normal and which is completely playable. Black can go for f5 and he will create his own counter chances. But Steinitz was in a little bit aggressive mood at that time, and he decided to play h4. Yes, like the way you can say the alpha engine AlphaGo plays in this current era. He plays h4. He is going to play h5 and he is going to open up the rook's file. That is his idea, nothing more. And after h4, black decided to create his own counter chances, and he played knight to the e7. Obviously, whenever the flank attack is going to happen, you need to break through in the center of the board, and he is going to try exactly same way in this game. So he played knight e7, h5, and as per the plan, black played d5. Why is he playing? Obviously, that is the positional concept. And here Steinitz played h into g6, and fg6 was played in the game. Obviously, if you play h into g6 in this position, then white can play queen to the e2 followed by bishop to the d2, and then he will castle and he will bring the rook to the h file in the coming moves, and black will be little bit in trouble in that case. So he did not go for that thing and he played f into g6. But by playing this move, the bishop which was sleeping on the c2 square until now will be awakened. Yes, this bishop will be coming in the game with great effect, and that's what Steinitz did in this game. He played first e into d5, knight into d5, knight into d5, queen into d5, and finally the bishop arrives on this beautiful diagonal, that is a2 to g8. And there is a huge pressure on this diagonal, because we can see that even if the king moves to the h8 square, it will be under fire because of this rook is sitting on the h1 square, and that is a complete open file. Okay, black played queen to the c6, then queen e2. Obviously he wants to play bishop d3, e3 or d2 and long castle, so that he will bring the final rook which is sitting on the a1 square in the game. So he played that move. Black played bishop to the d7, and here okay, white can try to capture on the e5 square, but the problem is like it will give lots of chances to his opponent. First thing is like queen into g2 is there. If you play knight d7, queen h1 check, king d2, and now we can play king h8. This is a very subtle move, and if white plays knight bishop to the e6, queen h2, knight f8, rook f8, and the pawn on the f2 square is going to fall. If you play f4 in this position, then queen e2, king e2, rook e8 will lead to a complete drawish position, I will say. So knight e5 is not something good, because it will just give chances to your opponent to come back in the game. So here white played bishop e3, a very calm move. His idea is very simple. He wants to long castle and bring the rook in the game. He's playing very simple plans. He is playing in a schematic way. So black played king h8. He wants to free up the knight on the e6 square, and here finally he plays long castle. After long castle, the rook is now in the game, and there are several threats. Well, black played rook e8, and here white can obviously try to play d4, but there will be unnecessary pressure on the e file, and that is not something which Steinitz wanted to do. What he did, he first of all played queen f1. This is a very simple looking move, but okay, this is a very important move in this position, because it will reduce all the counter chances which your opponent might be having in this position. And after queen f1, the threat of d4 is always there in the air, and black needs to play very precisely. Here the best chance for black was to play in a very defensive manner with the move rook f5 followed by knight f8, and trying to control or protect the h7 square in this case. But okay, he was not aware of this thing, and he played a5 move, which is completely useless in this position. And now finally William Steinitz breaks through in the center of the board with the move d4, and now after e into d4, knight into d4. Okay, here if you play knight into d4, then it will be a very horrible mistake, because it will lead to a checkmate with the brilliant rook sacrifice, rook into h7, king into h7, queen h1 check, bishop h6, queen h6. It is going to be a checkmate. Well, black was aware of this thing. He did not fall for this thing. He played bishop into d4. But in this position, can you guess the move? Yes, William Steinitz has prepared a very nice rook sacrifice. You can say the first exchange sacrifice in this game with the move rook into d4. He is not going to give up his bishop on e3, because he wants this bishop to checkmate his opponent. Okay, that's why he played rook into d4, and his opponent played knight into d4. Well, even if you don't play knight into d4, if he tries to play rook e7, then this rook on d4 will be swing over to the h4 square, and it will be very difficult position for black, because after the moves like such like g3, bishop d4, queen d3, attacking on the g6 square will be very easy for the white's pieces, and white should come up on top. Well, in the game knight d4 was played, and here can you guess the second move? Well, he has already sacrificed the rook on d4 square, and now here comes the blow, that is rook into h7. Double rook sacrifice in the same game. Yes, after king h7, it is going to be a checkmate. After queen h1 check, king moves to the g7 square, queen h6 check can be played. Obviously queen h6 is a possibility, then king f6, then queen h4. This is a little bit difficult to see. King e5 and now queen into d4, king f5, and well, we can play queen f4 and it will be a checkmate. But instead of playing queen h6, Steinitz decided to checkmate in a different style. He played bishop h6 check, king f6, and now queen h4 check, king e5, queen into d4 check, king f5, and here his opponent resigned because we can mate in multiple ways. We can play queen f4 check, g4 check, and it will lead to a check and mate. So I hope you enjoyed this beautiful game played by William Steinitz against the great master of the tactical play, that is Chigorin, in their World Chess Championship match. And after this, William Steinitz won the World Chess Championship match in a great style. So if you like this video, do subscribe to my channel, and you can always support to my channel by donating in small amounts. The links are given in the description. Till then, thank you very much for watching the video. See you next time. Thank you.